What happens when you're homeschooling a gifted kid and you're also the teacher, the mum, the cleaner, the cook, and sometimes the villain? Today's guest gets it, and she's built a whole business helping families like yours thrive. Today's guest is doing it all and helping others do the same. Melissa Muir is a homeschooling mum of four, a certified teacher, an expat, and the founder of Curio, a platform that helps families raise confident readers, writers, and thinkers through engaging small groups and one-on-one online ELA classes. She's here to share real stories, practical strategies, and insights from inside the world of homeschooling, especially for families with gifted or twice exceptional kids who don't quite fit the mold. Melissa, welcome and thank you for joining us on Attention is the Currency.
Thanks so much, Daniel. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Great to have you here. So what sparked your homeschooling journey and what was it like in the early days?
Yeah, gosh. Well, it wasn't planned. I'll tell you that. I went to public school my whole life in the United States. Grew up in Virginia, close to Washington, D.C. Great public school system there. But after moving abroad right after university, my husband and I got married pretty young and had kids straight away. And so after that, I was teaching in a private international school here in Quito, Ecuador, where we live. And I just thought, either we're going to have to pay and fork over about $1,000 a month for our kids to go to a private school, or I can put my teaching degree to use and, step aside and do this at home and, do the greatest teaching that I can and have the most impact. So that's kind of where it started. It was definitely tricky at first because I was taking all of my classroom teaching experience and literally putting up little schedules. I mean, you remember when you were little, the teacher has everything kind of laid out and this is what we're going to do next. And, that is, if anybody's doing that, just go ahead and stop. Just don't. But that was probably the biggest limiting factor at the beginning. Since then, we've grown a lot. But it's been quite the journey since then, and we have four kids. So
Yeah,
the first is always the experiment, poor kiddo, but she has turned out to be an almost 12-year-old, just lovely human being. So it's really fun to see the
yeah.
process.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
it was already a lot of work there, already a big job.
Yeah.
Raising the
Yes.
big, yeah, raising the big family. At what point did you realize your kids didn't just need support and need something different in that? Because you said you were looking at the private school and so on, but you
Yeah.
decided something a bit different.
Yeah, well, first off, I guess I should back up. A lot of where you're from, where I'm from, like we start school in a very standardized way. Everybody kind of goes to kindergarten, preschool, a little bit of kindergarten, and then we go to first grade around 5, 6, 7 years old. But I kept watching my kids and I was like, gosh, you could do this. Like you could do this now. And so when they were two, I know this sounds crazy, so just stick with me. We had a kindergarten curriculum that somebody had given me, just a book, it's kind of like a workbook. And it went through the alphabet with different songs, different activities for each letter. And I was like, let's do this. Let's see. 2 years old. So we're just doing about 15, 20 minutes of, hey, here's a letter. Let's draw with it in chalk. Let's stamp it out. Let's clean it off the blackboard. Let's do a couple like snacks with this letter. And that's what we would do when they were two. And then we would do the same thing when they were three, but there would be a little bit more fine motor skills, right? They're starting to develop those skills, gross motor skills. We're jumping, we're moving, we're doing all these things. 4 years old, they are starting to make sounds that go with these letters. They're starting to put letters together to make sounds. And I'm like, girl, you're gonna read before you're five. This is crazy to me because I had only seen 5, 6, 7 year olds begin reading. And so it surprised me. Okay, they can do more earlier. That was kind of the first cue. And then you mentioned I'm an expat. I'm from the United States. My husband is from Ecuador. So he and I both speak our native languages at home to each other. It sounds odd to an outsider, but I'll speak to him in English. He responds back to me in Spanish. And so our kids heard that growing up. And having a degree in Spanish linguistics, that's what I studied, and I got my master's after. I knew this was the way you raise bilingual kids. who mom and dad both speak the purest form of their language, and you
Yeah.
really hope that the kids get it. Theoretically, it should work. The only time it doesn't really work is when there's a learning disability. And obviously, you don't usually know that in most cases until five, six, seven. So kind of crossing our fingers, really hoping that it works.
Yeah. Well, it
And
sounds really good. It's yeah. Well, especially because
yeah, our
you're
2-year-old,
fluent is
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah. Our 2-year-old kind of looked at me and goes, Mom, can I have some water? And I said, Go ask Dad. And she just turns around. Oh, Daddy, ¿puedo agua? And we were like, "Oh, it worked. It worked." And so it was really cool to see, number one, that. And then we were like, well, shoot, if they got two, they might as well have three. But we started kind of doing the math and we're like, dang, a bilingual school where they're going to learn another language, be taught at a high level, and not be held back, because you're four and you can read already, you can't go on to first grade. No, right? So there was all these question marks.
I guess
And it
there's all
just,
different. It sounds like there's all different areas that they excel in, but then they need more help. But why hold them back? That's
exactly. And spoiler alert, number two and three and four have all been different. So they're all good at different things, and you're constantly having to adjust. So I can't imagine. I mean, I'm just watching my friends who are waking up at the crack of dawn to get their kids ready, to get themselves ready, and can only imagine the stress when we can all, I work early in the morning, so I guess that part is still the same. But for our homeschool kind of schedule, it's been blissfully relaxed. So we can kind of roll out, have a slow morning, eat, do math while they're doing breakfast, that sort of thing. But that was kind of the beginning, and it's kind of snowballed into what it is now.
that's really exciting. Yeah, well, I'm interested in the future where your kids will probably do videos like you do and expand into online. That accent is going to be interesting because you got the bilingual.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see. They definitely have more of a gringo English, American English accent
Yeah.
than a Spanish accent
Well,
at the moment. So
well,
we'll see.
it's always funny
TBD.
because I do so many calls with the United States, and
Yeah.
I'm Australian, and I call over there, and they
Right.
go, "What part of the US are you from?" So
Oh no. Face palm.
they
So
haven't had the
sorry.
right early training to understand all the other
Right.
everything else they could. So how did
Yeah.
Curio come about? Well, was it from a personal need or the bigger vision for?
Yeah. So, from actually, while I was still teaching at that private school here, I started tutoring. And, I've always loved that kind of small classroom feel, and really getting to like banter back and forth with kids, and especially the gifted and 2E kids. I should define 2E. That 2E means twice exceptional. So gifted and gifted and autistic, gifted and ADHD, gifted and dyslexic. You name it, there's a combination for it. And so it's really fun for me to figure out each kid's kind of needs and how we can make it fun, because there is a way to make it fun. It could be blocks, it could be some manipulative online. There are a million and one tools in the moment that we live in. And so it's really cool to kind of see where it came from. But I started just tutoring in my home. And then, homeschooled pretty hard, had kids every 2 years. And then in 2019, when my youngest was born, my husband actually lost his job just after our fourth baby was born. And we kind of looked at each other like, what do we do? 2 weeks after she's born, I get a job teaching online for a company in China. Now, this was great for me. I could wake up at 4 a.m., which I still do, but I don't have to teach back to back to back classes until 9 o'clock in the morning and then go teach my own kids. Now I have a much more relaxed schedule, much more balanced, but it was kind of the door opening to like, oh, online education is real. It actually works. It doesn't have to be a boring Zoom meeting, right? These are much more engaging classes, and I need to do something else with this. So, time progressed. I got to meet other people in the space who were doing really amazing stuff. And then started kind of creating my own classes, letting families know about it. They loved it. And now we're teaching kind of my favorite subjects to teach, which are book studies, writing, English language arts. We also have Spanish, French, and public speaking and debate classes, which is really fun, as well as our kind of bread and butter English language learners, ELL classes as well. So it's grown, but it's really fun to now have a team of people who are teaching with me and have kind of the same vision.
Well, this is very exciting. It's always amazing to hear the entrepreneurial story of because the doors close and that you could be panicking in that, but you actually have gone, okay, well, all this experience that I've had, and
Mhm.
with your husband, what do we go to now instead of going, oh, well, lost the job, need to do something, but
Right.
that's really because one door closes, another one opens, something else
Yeah.
comes up. It's
And he started his own business out of this. And thankfully, we've got two successful businesses that allow both of us
yeah.
to be home, to work from home. So
Well, that's
it's
amazing
a team
because
effort, but
yeah,
it's really
well,
cool.
it's very inspiring, and no doubt people listening will be inspired because I know yeah because I started my businesses out of necessity, so I
Yeah.
understand, and
Yeah.
then they become passions. So it's
Yes.
well,
Exactly.
well you already had the passion and it was already there and opened out, but
Yeah.
can you explain twice? Oh, well, you've already done that. You've already explained twice exceptional.
Sure.
So you've I skip over the next question.
Okay.
You've got me, but. What are some of the biggest struggles parents face when homeschooling gifted or those in your space?
Sure. Homeschool is going to be different for every family. So I think that's an important thing to remember that, and if families that are listening to this who have already started homeschooling, they already know. Like, oh, I compared with my friend and our day looks nothing alike. Like, that's fine. Number one, that's fine. Number two, it doesn't need to look like a classroom. That's probably part of the reason you pulled your kids from school or avoided school in the first place. So safely take a step back from that. And then the difficulties are going to be there. So just know that they're constantly going to ebb and flow, but particularly with this group of kids, they're bored. They're bored.
Yeah.
They already know what you told them. They don't know why they need to know this, and it feels like a waste of time. And to be honest, it probably is in a lot of different ways. So this is where figuring out what they enjoy and kind of the output and input that we need. So I like to think of it as kind of three different areas. The first one is discovery. Is there time for them to just tinker, to look at something, to, even in an online class, we use a lot of VR. And so I'll show a kid, a VR of them standing literally on the cliff at Machu Picchu in Peru. And they're turning around and they're going, oh no, they look at their feet, they freak out. They're like, why is the river muddy? Why is the trail going like this instead of straight down? Why are there rocks that are really organized? Listen to all these questions. That is your curriculum. Now
Yeah.
you're going to get into erosion. That's why it's a switchback. There's a lot of rain. That's why the river's muddy. That's Machu Picchu. We're going to learn about that ancient civilization, right? Whoa. So that's the really cool part, discovery. The
Yeah.
next one is kind of choice. How do you want to dive into this? We've got this cool video, this YouTuber. I love Johnny Harris for his deep dives into different things. Cleo Abram, Mark Rober, all these great educational YouTubers who like happen to make really high level videos. Kids love these and they can dig into them in different levels. And then the output, showing their kind of their own way of how they want to show what they know. So this could be a project. This could be physically building something. This could be going out and teaching somebody else, somebody younger. A lot of times
Yeah.
our older kids teach our younger kids in our family something and they love it. And so the sky's the limit there, but those boredom is going to be your biggest
Yeah.
kind of
Well, yeah.
crunch
Well,
point when it
what I
comes
hear,
to.
yeah. Well, what I hear that it's basically you're helping with because the curiosity, which is the name of your business,
Yeah,
in
Curio.
short, is what gets them excited about the learning. Which and then you're going from that to the real life skills. So you get excited about learning things and that discovery, and then also the real life skills. So the homeschooling platform is great to meeting the kids where they're at. But
Yeah.
I you said before about throwing out like all the charts and the coordination. How do you help families manage that overwhelm if aside from that, especially one subject causes conflict or burnout and coordinating that overwhelm?
Yeah. One of my good friends, Cami, she is a homeschool coach and she taught me this, which is just simplify. Do kind of a reset. So when you get those things out of there, then figure out what you need to add back in. And this could be determined by your state or province or territory, wherever you live, that is kind of your governing body that's legally backing your homeschool, because usually that's the case. We do need some English language arts. We do need some math. We do need a little bit of history, a little bit of science. Okay. Then figure out what's going well. Don't throw everything away if it's working, right? Leave it in there. Keep going. Do we need something different because either you don't have the time to teach it, you don't want to teach it, or you're not equipped to teach it? I'm not equipped to teach pre-algebra and beyond. My husband is an engineer. He's fantastic at it. He does really well. He teaches all of math, even from our preschooler up to our seventh grader, right? So there's quite a bit of range there. We find what we love. He took on math. That was great for me. I'm great at English language arts. He couldn't teach that, right? And so this is where hopefully there's a support system there. But what if it's not your spouse or your significant other? Grandparents? Is there a community member? Do you have a neighbor who happens to be a veteran? Do you have a scientist for a friend or a neighbor? One of the things I love to do is when a health topic comes up, I have a friend who is a research biologist at a university in the United States. One of my aunts is a midwife, and then another friend is a doctor of physical therapy. Gosh, I've got a resource library that I can call and they can ask questions. So look beyond the four walls of your house. Then, I say this as a last resort because I know as a parent, the bills add up, right? But one of the beautiful parts of homeschool is you can really cut costs on a lot of the core subjects, and the stuff that you want to spend money on, you can. That's the cool part. So, for example, I'm not equipped to teach French, neither is my husband. I have no interest in putting in the time to become super fluent in French, but we want our kids to be fluent in French. We want them to be trilingual. So, for the past 6 years, we've paid somebody to teach our kids French twice a week, 30 minutes per kid each time. And it's gone great. Everybody's happy. We're happy. Yes, it's an investment, but that's kind of where we come in. I've been through this with my own kids, and so I'm happy to provide that service to other people when they need it. And so that's where we've
Yeah.
been able to say, hey, families, don't worry about the overwhelm. And there are a lot of situations where that can kind of come up. But
Always,
that's what we
always
that's what we
tapping
do. That's how we can
into
help.
that support. The quote that came to mind: "It takes a village to raise a child," and
Yeah.
it's we're getting all those other people because, while as adults we're not strong in everything either. So yeah,
Right.
bringing those people in because I imagine that there's things that your kids do really well and are passionate about that aren't an interest of yours or your husband's. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Sports, the sports that they've chosen. Exactly. So yeah, it's fun to see them kind of spread their wings. Exactly.
So, what are we'll go to the sort of the outsourcing end. What are your top
Mhm.
go-to tools or tricks for stretching a parent's impact without hiring a full-time tutor
Sure.
or resource?
So again, I would say start close to home. If you've got family members who are willing to teach, I know a lot of times grandparents are like, I want to read to them. They have like a weekly standing Zoom meeting where they'll read them a book. That's pretty cool. So when they're young, you can outsource a lot of different things. As they get older and you're able to kind of take advantage of either in-person or online opportunities, this can look different in a couple different ways. I'm going to start actually not where you might think I'm going, which is live classes, but printable resources. Don't think you have to buy these massive boxes of curriculum. Those are very expensive, and a lot of times it makes me cringe so bad. But when after they spend $600 on curriculum and they're like, my kid doesn't like it, it's boring. They finished it in a month, and like, what? How did you do this? So I say go piecemeal, go unit by unit. If you need a fractions unit, buy a $5 printable PDF download and use it for each of your kids if you've got multiple kids and do that one unit. Then see what's next. And there are a lot of people creating things, including us at thinkcurio.com. We've got lots of different writing resources, French, English, and Spanish, things like that. But sites like Teachers Pay Teachers have great databases with very low cost or free resources. So that's a really good one. The other one is going to be those classes. And I would say they kind of fall into two categories, one-on-one classes and then group classes. One-on-one classes are going to be higher dollar. That makes sense, right? It's one-on-one personalized attention, and that's mostly what we offer. We do have group classes, which we love, especially for the homeschool community, because kids can just nerd out in a safe space. Here's one example. We have a book club, and these are high level books. These are Newbery winning books, so they get a medal. They're high quality lit. And we want kids who are like freaking out bookworms. They just would read on the couch all day if you let them. Those are the kids we want in there. And they come and it's great. And they just have so much fun talking with each other and saying their weird theories about this character in the book or whatever. And I get a look at the academic writing on the other side. And it's all private and very protected. And so it kind of feels like a sacred space. We've also got like a manners camp. So these are areas where perhaps parents are like, I don't either know or want to teach you how to set a place setting at the table, which fork to use, right? But we've got a teacher who has been trained in like cotillion and like all these very high level etiquette things.
Yeah.
And that's what she teaches. And so it's really cool to see kind of where these different group classes go. So again, we provide those. Another great platform is OutSchool. If you can't find it with us, check there. And one more is indieed.com, which is another marketplace for independent teachers who would like more say in what they teach.
Very good, and we'll make sure that we link everything
Yeah,
on there. So no, that's
show
that's
notes.
phenomenal. There's so much excitement in there with the passion mixed with the education.
Mhm.
But I'm sure that people are curious because you've got so much going on. So how do you balance being a mum of four, a business owner, and a homeschool educator? It's big days.
Yeah, big days. But and you've said it a couple times. It does take a village. We need to lean on other people. So I get up at 4 a.m. I know that's not a normal time to get up, but
Yeah,
that's
that's
where I've
what
found.
it's a good time.
Yeah.
We're up there.
So 4 a.m., I make my coffee, I come up, I read the Bible and I pray and journal. I have some meditation time. I work out for about 45 minutes, lift weights, and then start teaching, working for about 2.5 hours. Then it's pretty much shut the computer until after lunch. So I'm downstairs homeschooling. And again, we've been doing this for a while now, about, nearly 10 years now. And so we've got books. Again, hear me when I say we are not fancy. We don't have a schoolroom. We don't have beautiful little cubbies where all their books live. They're piled in the corner of our kitchen. There's one cabinet dedicated to that. The kids have a pencil pouch that they share, and we've got a bunch of laptops and phones, defunct phones that we use for just reading and stuff like that. So it's not aesthetic, but it gets done. So we've got different places that kids like to do work. We'll put a beach towel. Again, we live in Ecuador, so it's kind of eternal spring here. But we can, throw a beach towel out in the grass. We can hang up a hammock. We can sit at the kitchen table. We can sit on the couch. We can sit in their bed if they feel like it, right? So we homeschool for about 2.5 hours. I'm making lunch during this time, 3 days of the week, but my two oldest daughters help make lunch. They make lunch each once a week. So they have a little bit of planning to do, a little bit of that executive function that needs to, oh shoot, I need to defrost the chicken. Oh no, I didn't get a veggie. What's our veggie going to be? Right. And so kind of figuring out those life skills. And then in the afternoon, I do have 3 or 4 hours of homeschool kids who I meet with for about 50 minutes each. And then the other days of the week, we have sports practices, which we can walk to. As we live in a large city, we're able to walk there. And then at night, most of the time, I have 1 hour of teaching. So it could be 1 or 2 classes in the evening. And again, my husband and I both work from home. So this is all in the context of teamwork. And I have an angel of a mother-in-law who lives close by who makes our kids dinner. So that is nice to just be able to deposit them with her and then they come back to our house.
Yeah, well planned out,
So
and it is a routine, but not too strict as such.
yeah.
You've still got the enjoyment in there, because I think it's
Yeah.
always about the enjoyment and the passion of life. If I think a lot of people struggle in these areas because they think they have to do certain things in
Mhm.
a certain way, and as you said that you just get it done. You don't
Yeah.
worry about having the best of this or the best of that. You just go through and make it happen.
Yeah.
Um, Now you're living in another country. Is that sort of if changed your lifestyle and the teaching and it really influenced the way that you're operating?
Yeah, it's definitely changed our lifestyle. I am
Yeah.
from, the more rural area of the United States, so
Yeah.
moving to a capital city in South America is definitely different. But in terms of our pace of life, and the things that we choose to spend money on, the things that we choose to spend our time on, that's definitely been a factor in why we've chosen to live where we live. We're able to save a lot more money. We've got 4 kids to put through college, and they'll probably go to the United States for that. So a pretty penny will go into the college fund. But it's a simpler lifestyle here. Obviously, it has its ups and downs, and those who have lived in other countries will know. I mean, we've got random power outages. Oh, the pipes broke. Oh, a political coup is happening down the street. So yes, there are tense moments. There are things that are tricky, but at the same time, we have a faith that kind of carries us through that, and so that's important to us, and that's something that we want to model for our kids. So I think if anything, it's actually made us way more focused on what we believe is important, rather than just kind of getting swept along with whatever else is happening. And I think that's really important. So I'm excited to see how our kids kind of digest that too over
Yeah.
the
Well,
years.
the resilience is always good, I would say, and
Yeah,
you're teaching that at the same time.
yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly.
for parents listening who want support, where can they learn more about Curio?
Sure. They can head to thinkcurio.com. We've got all of our classes and printables there. We've got a blog that we try to share helpful things on. This is not just fluff and filler. We want you to walk away with really helpful resources. And then on YouTube, I love sharing all things homeschool, and online teaching. And so, again, it's helpful to think about how you're going to homeschool if you're starting to plan. And so just knowing that there are other ways to do this, it's not a one size fits all type thing. I like to share about that on YouTube. So, yeah, we're out there.
And
Thinkcurio.com is the best place.
and your age range for best.
Yeah. So I would say, especially with the online classes, no lower than six to 7 years old, on up to, we have adults that take class with us as well. So 6 to 7 on up. And then our printables are mostly focused on second to fifth grade, but high schoolers will find some stuff on there as well.
Fantastic. And
Mhm.
so our signature question is always, if attention is the currency, what should more parents be paying attention to in their kids right now?
I love this. Okay. So play with me for a second. So I like to imagine processes in my life as like either fractions or a progress bar, the progress bar that's loading.
Um,
So I want the fraction of my speech to my kids every day. I want people to pay attention to how many questions they're asking versus how many commands they're giving. More questions, less commands. Tie your shoes, move faster, we're gonna be late, get in the car. No. Hey, do you think we could put your shoes near the door? Do you know where your shoes are? Hey, what time would you like to get there? Hey, what would you like to learn about today? Which would you like to start with? I mean, just simple things like that, giving them choices, but also leading to those deeper questions are things that I just love seeing, our kids' answers kind of evolve too. Gives them a chance to think deeply.
No, that's really good. I like that. That's a great answer. It's
Thanks.
one of our best so far, I'd say. Is
Oh,
the
thank you.
questions versus commands, because switching on the mind to actually think about the process.
Yeah.
But
Lowers the anxiety, lowers the cortisol in everyone involved,
yeah,
especially the adults, probably.
yeah, I definitely.
So,
Well, possibly next time. Well, the kids will know that next time. Think for themselves and think, I've got to do this, and I normally do this way.
exactly. Yep. Yep. Yep.
That's
Yep.
great.
Anticipation.
Yes. So, Melissa, thank you for being real, honest, and generous with what you've learned. To everyone listening, if you've got a gifted or complex learner at home, or if homeschooling's starting to feel like a full contact sport, don't go it alone. Head to thinkcurio.com. We'll make sure we put the link in the comments and follow Think Hero Learning on all socials or across you're on TikTok, Facebook, everywhere.
Not TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube,
That's
and
cool.
LinkedIn.
So across everywhere, just about. And
Yep.
check out the amazing support Melissa's offering. And remember, attention is a currency, so invest it where it counts.
Hmm.
We'll see you all next time.